TE Talks with Guides is a weekly podcast for lovers of history, travel, and all things Italian. Welcome back, everybody, to TE Talks, sponsored by Through Eternity Tours. I'm your host, Rob Allen, and on TE Talks, we get to talk with some of the most fascinating people who make a living out of being wonderful storytellers. Now, always remember, if you enjoyed this podcast and our others that you've listened to, please remember it's a great help for us to write a review and give us 5 stars. It is extremely helpful to get the word out and let other people know about who we are and what we do. It's an amazing place to get free content. And we've had over 4,000 uploads on our podcast. So I'm very excited about this. And today we have the special guest, Isabella from Venice. She is an official guide from Venice. Ciao, Isabella.
Ciao, Rob. Hi, everybody.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine. The weather is very nice today, even though it's chilly, but it's very sunny and unusually dry for Venice because, in Venice, humidity has a big role all around,
yes.
Not just the water.
Yeah, exactly. I think somebody was showing me recently these photos of people at St. Mark's Square having an aperitivo with the tables in the square, but under about 6 inches of water or something. Exactly. That may have been in the past, not recent.
Exactly. We always have our feet in the water somehow due to the rise in the airport, to the Acqua Alta, the high tide.
Oh my goodness. It's an amazing thing. So you are definitely in the heart of Venice, and I am in the heart of Charlotte, North Carolina, reaching out to you today. Now, before we go into let's just say what a great time. And I was so happy when you suggested to me, because I always knew that this is something that you do, and it's a great interest of you. You said, let's talk about food and wine in Venice. And I thought, this is the perfect week because we're the Wednesday before Thanksgiving 2021. And for Americans, who are probably a great amount of our listeners, although we do have listeners all over the world, this is a great week to talk about food. So thank you for bringing up that subject.
You're welcome. And now, I have to say that food for me is a sort of obsession. I mean, even when I talk about art and I point out to people a beautiful dome in a church, I often think of a meringue, or I always relate to food in color or smell or shape somehow. So this is actually a fixed point for me.
I think that's a wonderful point for saying that, because I've often noticed things, and food definitely, like you say, and of course the domes of St. Mark's or the domes of St. Anthony in Padua certainly do look like meringues. It's design is inspired by the visual things of nature, but of course also food is inspired by nature or what people create.
I see the puffy clouds.
Exactly. or we've been doing a video about the TE destinations, and I was a little chagrined. Venice is just so beautiful in and of its own, but it was really hard to transmit because it was kind of cloudy but also sunny, and the film is a little overexposed, the video. Okay. People have to be in Venice to understand the colors, because the film doesn't justify it. It's like you want to see all those wonderful painters the Venetian painters are known for their colors, and they get it from the inspiration of Venice itself, with the light from the sky reflecting on the water everywhere and all the beautiful buildings, I think.
Absolutely. Landscape and the sky. Think of the frescoes by Giambattista Tiepolo in 1700. It's all about the sky, this light pink, blue that, breaks the architecture, the walls, the ceiling, and opens towards the sky. It's all about light, a lot of light.
Exactly. Now, Isabella, do tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been a guide for Venice, and how long have you been living in Venice?
Allora, I'm not a Venetian, first of all. I was born in the old town of Padua, which is half an hour away driving from Venice. and it is a beautiful place to visit. You know, it has been recently inserted in the list of the protected sites by UNESCO, thanks to its beautiful frescoes, 1300, so Middle Ages. And the most important place that you know very well is the Scrovegni Chapel. Okay, so it is definitely worthwhile a visit. Then I grew up in the countryside, exactly at the border, always in the Veneto region, where Venice is the capital city, but on the border with Emilia-Romagna and also Lombardy towards Mantua. So really at the border with all the influence that this means, also from the culinary point of view, of course. And I moved to Venice to attend college and basically settled down here. Actually, I started as a tour assistant, so tour leader, and then I took my exam as a guide. So I've been giving tour as a guide since 2017. Okay. Okay. Not so long ago. Before that, I worked in tourism, and I started in the middle 90s when cruise ships were becoming very, very popular. So the port offers so much job, and a lot of people were involved in this business. And for a few years, I actually gave tours by boat, not as a tour guide, but as a tour leader. And then at a certain point, I decided to focus more on art and culture. And so I'm working now a lot in Venice, but I also do like a lot to tour to the mainland, because the Veneto region has so much to offer, and the only focus cannot be Venice, just the city center.
No, you are absolutely right. And I wanted to say, I didn't realize that you were from Padua originally. I went there when I met you, when I went to Venice, because we were doing our TE Destinations videos, and I have fallen in love with Padua, also Verona. I've been to, I haven't been to Mantua, but these cities in the Veneto region are incredible.
Mantova, is right outside Veneto, is already in Lombardy, but I mean, it's very close to Verona. You know, Italy is small, so anyway, the region then are not that big, and you can drive very easily from Verona to Mantua, because Mantua is just south of Lake Garda. Okay. And so it's always day trips you can do actually from Venice, for example. Yeah.
Oh yes, and they're gorgeous. I mean, they're really gorgeous, because Venice, you know, everyone wants to see Venice because we know it is unique and very, very special. But Padua is stunning, and it's not as packed with tourists, I think, compared to it. So that's also lovely as an experience. So let me ask you then, what is it about Venetian foods? And I think this is a wonderful thing to talk about, because unfortunately, because it is such a touristic city, I don't know if necessarily people have a lot of great eating experiences in Venice, because you need to know where to go. Tell me, what is it that is special? Like, how is it that you want to talk about Venetian food and wine?
Allora, in Venice proper, food is, I would say, definitely lighter than in other parts of Italy and of the region. Think a moment to the geography of this region. You pass from the Venetian lagoon up to the high Dolomites peaks. And of course, the food is very different when you live by the sea, by the water, or up in the Alps where it's very cold. So you need to eat something more nourishing that warms you up and gives you more energy. Okay. Then think of the fact that in Venice, people walk a lot. Okay, we rely on our legs and on our feet. So to be active, to keep active, food has to be light, first of all. Okay.
Sure.
If you eat heavy stuff, heavy meal, then you fall asleep. You have to take a nap, and instead Venetians have to walk. And this is why probably our diet is based a lot on vegetables. Okay, rice certainly, so a lot of risotto. It's very curious that rice is called not riso, which is the singular for rice in Italian, but risi. because in the past time where they were first introduced from Far East, they were so expensive that they were bought, by seeds, by grain. Okay, so they were counted and sold in pharmacies, and they were used basically to make a soup more dense, pressing them in a mortar. Okay, but one of the most typical recipe is risi and visi, green peas in a risotto. Okay?
Wow.
See. And then, of course, being by the water, a lot of seafood and fish. Everything prepared in a very simple way, okay? Because they say if fish is fresh, it has to taste fish, not to be covered with too many, mayonnaise and sauces, okay? To enjoy the real flavor, the simple taste of fish. So preparation is very simple. Can be cooked under a salt crust, okay, like Brandino salt crust. And there is also a very old recipe, which is called eel cook on the ara. So in front of the mouth of the oven, okay, where in past times, Muranesi glass blowing, okay, masters, used to cool down the piece of glass just blown. Because there is an oven to melt the glass pasta, let's say, dough, okay? And then a cooling oven, so the temperature is much lower, to cool gently the piece down, not to break, to have a thermal shock. And these ovens were used to cook eels, okay?
Wow.
Okay, so it's called anguilla on the ara, a eel on the ara, on this piece of stone, let's say, put at the entrance of this cooling oven.
And do you know places that still prepare this eel on the ara?
It's very hard to find. It's very hard to find. Of course, they don't use. It's in a regular restaurant, so no longer inside the glass blowing factory. Okay, but you can find. Of course, tourists never order this because they don't understand what it is, and then you have to like eels, which is not very easy to like, because
I've had eels in with Japanese sushi, but I've which is cooked. It's good. I know you're absolutely right, but people need to be adventurous and try something.
Because it looks like a snake. If it is too big, it is quite fat, so it's special. say. But anyway, going back to what we were talking about, so the lightness of food. I have to say that here is very popular to have cicchetti. Okay, cicchetti is the Italian or the Venetian better for tapas, for finger food.
Yes.
So nowadays you have a variety of these finger food, which is a small size bite. Okay, and so sometimes it's almost to replace a regular meal. When you go to 2 or 3 taverns, wine bars that offer this kind of food, you select something from the counter and you go here to have something special, over there because they specialize in something else. And in the end, you have a big range of flavors and different kind of ingredients, definitely.
That's wonderful. Yeah, because I think it's the Venetians who really revolutionize aperitivo, the cocktail hours. Really, I mean, most famous cocktails of Italy are from Venice.
I see. Because the spritz was invented exactly here in this town, between here and Padua anyway, and it was during Austrian occupation. So we are talking dating back to the first half of 1800, because Austrians were people coming from the mountains, accustomed to drinking beer. Sure. So when they came here, they found that the ombra di vino, that the glass of wine that the Venetians had so easily, also at 10 a.m., was a little bit too strong for them. So they started cutting wine with water. And at that point, Venetians said, what is this? Water and wine? Doesn't make any sense. So they started adding some bitter. And the moment they added Aperol and later Campari. And nowadays also Select has been introduced again, in Venice. This popular long drink or cocktail called Spritz was invented officially, let's say. So, and the word comes from spritzen, which means to spray, water or seltz in this mix of prosecco and bitter.
Yummy, yummy. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it seems like more than ever, più che mai, the Aperol Spritz and the Campari Spritz, everyone is drinking them all over the country. And in fact, I think it's becoming very popular in the United States. But did you ever hear the story? I always had understood, but this could be an urban legend, that the Aperol Spritz, because for people who don't know, Aperol is this bitter, but it has this vibrant orange color. So, and in fact, when I'm pretty good at making Aperol Spritz, if I do say so myself. Very much like you want to have this gradation of the color, because I pour the prosecco in first, and then I pour the Aperol, and I judge the color because it's supposed to look like a Venetian sunset. I was told, but I think it has this beautiful color, and then you add a bit of the tonic.
It's very nice. Also, the red of the Campari, but actually the orange of the Aperol is so vibrant. And that's why they decorate, the glass when they serve you with a slice of orange too, especially in the summer. And they put inside also an olive to give a salty, twist, let's say.
Yes.
They, be it Campari, Aperol, Select, they are all based on rhubarb, licorice or artichoke roots. So something bitter that open your stomach and prepare it for eating. So they say it looks innocent, but it is not actually, because you add the degrees of the prosecco of the wine to that of Aperol or Campari. So sometimes people who are not accustomed, they have the first one very easily, and also the second one. And at that point, your legs start, trembling a little bit, because so it's stronger than it tastes, actually.
Well, it sounds. I love it all the time. I drink Aperol Spritz. Now, I've also heard. Is this true that the tramezzini they were also, the little sandwiches were invented in Venice as well?
Because they are like triangles, a regular sandwich, but made with a very soft bread, which is always kept under a wet cloth to keep it moist, and they are filled with whatever really. Yeah. So that's the most popular snack. And sometimes, because people always in a rush, it's easy, finger food or tramezzini to eat, rapid, and they are very tasty. And it's very, very popular even for people when they take a break from the office during lunchtime to have a couple of tramezzini and then a nice coffee.
I remember there was a place, but of course, I had a Venetian show me a place. And the tramezzini, because again, these are things that you can get all over Italy, but they're just not as good as they were when I had them in Venice. But unfortunately, well, maybe great for you guys is you never remember these places, because Venice itself is a maze, so you don't remember specifically where it was that you went through. So I'm sure you do a tour of a food tour. Correct.
Absolutely. We call it Baccari strolling. So
exactly.
To go by Baccari means to stop in a Baccaro. Baccaro is the Venetian for a wine bar, but that serves food too, and comes from the Roman god of wine, Bacchus. Okay.
There we go.
So you stop and you have something. Actually, they keep preparing finger food and tramezzini all day through, because they go away very easily. They are sold out very fast, especially for lunchtime or for the aperitivo. So if you go to one of these places around 7 o'clock, you don't find tramezzini anymore. because then people are having a regular meal, no more tramezzini, so they are very typical of the morning or for lunch, okay? Whereas in the evening, it's more traditional to have cicchetti, whose name comes from the Latin cicus, which means a small amount of food. And now you can really find meatball, a slice of polenta with codfish, the bottom of the artichokes. In the past, it was very poor food that started to be prepared just to help people attending the market very early in the morning. They needed something, rapid to eat. And now it's more gourmet or sophisticated kind of food. So it's very large variety for everybody, even for vegetarian.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's wonderful. And so let me ask you, so on your food tour that you offer for people, what is it that you love to do? Like, how is it that you approach it, and how long is it? Is it a couple of hours? I mean,
it's normally a couple of hours. You can decide to focus on food. So to meet people in, let's say, in their hotel, for example, and around 6 o'clock, if it is in the evening, or 11, so you go and you take them also to the market to see this fabulous market we have by Rialto, selling very nice fresh fish and vegetables. And so you stop for an aperitif, then you go to another place, maybe in a beautiful square that we call Campo Fields, because in the past times, it was like countryside. Sure. And looking at a beautiful building, be it a church or another institution, and sipping a nice glass of wine. So it's two kind of culture, culinary and more artistic, let's say. Okay, this is, so it's a very relaxed and casual walk. But besides the couple of hours tours in Venice, I like also to suggest and take people to culinary adventures in the rest of the region, because Veneto is the region that produces the largest quantity of wine in Italy, for example. Okay, so there is a lot to discover and to taste.
Yes. So what do you say? How would you tell people about what is it that I'm pretty sure it's white wines is what Veneto is known for, correct?
Sí.
So what wines? Let's talk about the wines. I'm very happy to. I love them.
Let's say there are mainly 4 areas, for wine. And maybe the best red wine is produced, or the one that is most largely known, is in the area of Verona. Because over there you have Bardolino, you have the Amarone, you have the Soave, which is white. So you have great wines. Sure. And they also prepare a wonderful risotto using Amarone, Amarone wine that comes with a spectacular color, so Bordeaux, and it's very good. So you can combine, wine tasting in a nice winery in the area with a walking tour inside the city center, Verona city center.
Gorgeous city.
See. And then we have, like 1 hour away from Venice, close to Padua, the so-called Euganean Hills, which is so hard for Americans to pronounce, Euganean. It's very fun. For some reason, I don't know why, but Euganean Hills, where you have nice wine, but also very good oil. And you have saffron. Organic production of saffron, very limited but exquisite, and cheese, for example, because cheese and wine is perfect.
Yes, it is.
And then you have the protected by UNESCO area hills of Valdobbiadene, where the Prosecco wine is produced. So I see there is a lot.
beautiful. It's beautiful. So is the Vermentino also Venetian wine, or am I mistaken?
No, no,
Okay.
no, no.
That's Alto
Vermentino is not.
Adige.
See, see,
Yes,
is
correct.
another area. Then you have the wine produced in the Piave, so in the
Uh-huh.
plain close to Venice. Of course, the region again having so many different kind of soils, from alluvial, to volcanic, to uphills, etc. Produces very different kind of wine. You go from very light white, okay,
Yes.
that we say beverelli, so easy to drink, okay, to full-bodied like Amarone, okay, which is age, it's stronger wine, perfect
Strong
for
red wine,
the
yes.
meat. See. So
With the Amarone risotto, because that's very interesting. I've never heard it. What is put in with the risotto as the base? I mean, I
allora,
imagine you like to cook as well as
see, the basic preparation for many risotti is to start at least a traditional, because then chef decide to do this or not, but is very simple. So you put onions as a base, okay, with some butter, and then you toast the rice, and then you start cooking, adding vegetable broth or meat or fish according to what you add. Sure. And every now and then you add quantities of wine, okay, to have in this case the Amarone. I guess that it's not just Amarone, they put also some sweeter wine than Amarone, like the Raboso, okay, to balance a little bit, because otherwise it's too strong. You have always to let the alcohol in wine evaporate, because it's not good in food, okay? But it's very simple. And then towards the end, when the grains are done but still al dente, you turn off the fire, the stove, and you add Parmigiano and butter, and turn it into as creamy as possible.
Yes.
And you dump the rice in the pot. Yeah.
I have to try this. I have to maybe get a recipe from you to do the Amorino risotto.
Amorone.
Amorone, scusa. Amorone. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. I haven't fully had my coffee or woken up yet.
Amorino is very nice.
Uh-huh. I invent words in English and in Italian.
In Italian,
all the time.
But you can invent. I mean, cuisine is very nice because you can really express yourself and open the fridge and decide to put something in a pot. If it comes well, you will do again, otherwise not. But you have this option. I like to try,
It's true. It's good to invent things.
I see.
And so to talk about this, so we have we've established that, and I really loved how you described in the beginning of this podcast about how foods are developed in the area based on, if you're up in the mountains, they need high caloric, beautiful, heavy foods, and then they take a nap. But in Venice, for example, and I love that about Venice because I love to walk very much. And in Venice, though, it's funny because, I mean, really, unless you have a boat, which is still problematic because it could be the canals are blocked up or whatever, you have to walk from one place to another, and it may take time. So that's why the food is quick and light, because you have to eat quickly because you have to get to another place that you have to meet someone, maybe, for example. I think that's fascinating. And so we have the cicchetti, we have the aperitivo, we have drinks, we have lighter food, we have based on fish and whatnot. And we have lovely risottos for meals that are more substantial. What about desserts? And what about holiday meals? Do you guys have anything very specific designed from the Veneto region for lovely desserts?
Allora, the desserts in Venice, where traditionally we have cookies, okay, that you can dip in wine. And of course, when you shape them small, they become more crunchy, okay? I'm thinking of, for example, the so-called buranelli that are prepared on the island of Burano, but you can find all over Venice, okay? And all kind of very crispy or crunchy biscotti, like also the baicolo, which is shaped like oval shape. Okay, baicolo was the word they used to refer to baby fishes. Okay, and that is used like a spoon to eat warm zabayon. That's a very elegant dessert. Absolutely.
Zabayone.
Zabayone, warm zabayone. And of course, the tiramisu, because the tiramisu was invented in this region.
I did not know that.
I didn't know.
No.
Probably in the province of Treviso. Okay. And tiramisu is the Venetian word for tiramisu, so very similar. And it means cheer me up, pull me up, give me energy, because it's based simply on eggs, okay, sugar, coffee, and mascarpone cheese. So tiramisu, if it is well made, well prepared, has to be light to give you energy. If it is...
no, go ahead. So what were you saying?
If it is too liquid, too much sugar, it is not good. It has to be like a puffy, okay? Something puffy and tasty.
Oh, well, I agree with you, because it's the most famous dessert probably that Italian restaurants make all over Italy and also in the United States. But I can imagine I've had very mediocre, very banal, bad tiramisus. But then, of course, in those off times when you do have it, when it's the way it should be, come si deve, when it's the right way, it's wonderful. It's because it is light and it does pick you up. It's just and it's just like, it just stays in your mouth, that lovely the cream and the espresso. I mean, it's just really like this. So do you know of places that do a good job of preparing tiramisu in Venice or in the Veneto region that you like to take people to?
There are places that prepare nice tiramisu. Of course, mine is the best one. No, because sometimes I give cooking classes. I was
going to say that, much. Because you do a food tour,
not too often, because it's hard. I do it in my apartment, so I need almost a whole day to prepare and everything. But this is something that I've always liked to do, and I do like the tiramisu in single portion instead of a typical cake with many layers, where you have a lot of biscotti that makes it too heavy.
Soggy.
Okay, so when you put like a couple of savoiardi in it, or cookies, or the amaretti, then you can serve like in a glass of martini, for example, and it's really a nice way to finish a meal without being too heavy, of course, too much. Yeah, but there are places.
Now that means, of course, now that you've said this, I'm going to have to get you to do a tour for a cooking lesson for me when I come up to Venice again.
Of course. So we'll do the bigoli, the thick spaghetti, okay, with some meat sauce, or I don't know. Let's see.
That sounds so good, and then I'll say, oh, you must do the tiramisu with me, because I would love to see that. That would be wonderful. And you do live in the center of Venice, correct?
I live just between San Marco Square and Rialto Bridge. So now, while I'm talking to you, I have the canal on my right hand side. Okay, on the side of my apartment. At the other side, I have the street. So the street door is what Venetians normally use nowadays. But before they built in the past centuries bridges, of course, everybody moved just by boat. Okay.
Yes.
So a lot of buildings have the water door and the street door. Since then, they have maintained this couple of entrances, let's say.
Yes, this one, because people would go back and forth only by the canals. They did not have those bridges. They added them later on. What a wonderful thing. There's so many wonderful layers about Venice to be discovered for people. And I would like to say, I mean, you've just given us like what we say is the tip of the iceberg about foods in the region of Veneto and Venice, and the lovely wines, because they do have wonderful wines as well. And of course, the aperitivi. We didn't even talk about bellinis or what have you.
The Bellini was invented here, but
yeah,
also the Carpaccio. I forgot about Carpaccio. Again, very
Carpaccio,
simple.
wonderful.
Okay, was invented here at the Harris Bar. And it is just a thin layer of beef meat, marinated or with the server with a nice sauce. And now you can find carpaccio, fish, vegetable, everything. But it was born here as beef.
Wonderful. I haven't had carpaccio beef. I've had carpaccio, so it's raw seafood, and I've had swordfish. That's carpaccio. It was so good. I need to have it with the beef. That sounds wonderful. But anyway, there's so many different things. I just, like I said, we can have other discussions in the future, but I wanted to thank you so much for making yourself available to share your knowledge with us. I always feel it's so exceptional to get you guys to come through here. And I so very much appreciate it, Isabella, for your time and sharing this with us.
It was a pleasure. Absolutely, for me.
And for me now, of course, I'm famished. I'm very, very hungry, but I won't have Italian foods to be able to eat this morning. But I'm actually thinking I may have to prepare an Italian dinner for my family one of these nights. So I have to figure out what I'm going to make for them, because they always want me to make some pasta or something for them with the ingredients that we have in the United States.
And then when you go back to the States or to your family, you can carry with you the famous Pandoro from Verona, this typical cake, which is pie.
Yeah, Pandoro is my favorite for the Christmas. In fact, I did bring a Pandoro for Christmas, because many people may not know that. They just know that the Pandoro, the panettone, come from Italy, but the Pandoro comes from Verona, which is my favorite, because I'm not always necessarily a fan of the candied fruits inside the panettone, but Pandoro is delicious. It's so good. Oh my gosh, I could eat those for days.
And if you want to kill somebody, it's good, a slice of Pandoro with mascarpone custard.
Buono. I usually make it. My partner, who loves Pandoro, but I have to make for him the crema pasticcera, and put that a bit of the crema pasticcera with it. But I'll try with mascarpone, because I didn't even think about that. Wonderful. Absolutely great. Well, I look forward to seeing you in Venice, maybe to join one of your lovely food tours, walking tours of the city or the regions outside, or definitely having a cooking lesson with you to do the tiramisu or something of that order. I would look forward to it. And anybody else who's interested in this, or who anybody else may have a question for me or Isabella about foods or any other questions about Venice, please write to office@througheternity.com. We love questions, and we will be reading them out on the podcast if they do end up coming through to us. Anyway, thank you so much again, Isabella, for your time, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay, thanks to you. Looking forward. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao, bye. Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you for listening to our TE Talks with Guides. We have a new episode every Wednesday. Please subscribe to get an alert when each podcast comes out. Rate us and tell people how you enjoyed it, and share it on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Most importantly, if you enjoyed it, send us a feedback about the show. Also, if you are curious about what some of these people and places we talked about look like, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch the video on this podcast, where we have inserted special images for you to further enjoy the story.